Yeah, I was just 25 when I founded my company. I can tell you live in front of all this audience, but I was really naive back then. I was just a coder. I could code only, I could write software. But founding a company, managing it, growing it, sustaining it for all these years, it was quite an adventure.
Welcome to Business Ninjas, brought to you by WriteForMe, where you'll hear from business leaders who are out there growing their business and slaying it every day. Learn from the masters. Let's get started.
Hey everybody, this is Max Pittman from WriteForMe, and you're listening to another episode of the Business Ninjas podcast, where we meet the experts who are making things happen and scaling their businesses. And today we're talking about Astha IT with Mr. Hasnaeen Rahman, aka Riz, who is the founder and CEO at Astha IT. Riz, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Max. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, it's great having you here. Really appreciate you being a part of the podcast and telling your story. So Astha IT, it's in the IT consulting and staff augmentation space. The company's been around for about 15 years. So I'm definitely excited to dive into what's going on there at Astha IT. But before we jump into the organization itself, our Business Ninjas community is built of entrepreneurs and executives like yourself, but also a lot of sales and marketing leaders. So as the founder and CEO, at Astha IT, tell our community a little bit about yourself and some of the things you're focused on today.
Sure. Thank you so much, Max. That's a nice question. So I founded my company Astha IT back in 2008. But if I have to tell about myself, I was born in a country called Bangladesh, and I was raised there. So when I was in school, I used to love solving problems and solving puzzles. And that got me into coding. So I taught myself coding when I was really young, when I was in school. And I sold my first software to a company when I was in 11th grade. So that was the first work or earning that I made out of coding. Fast forward, when I was in school, I was in university. I studied computer science. I got into a job, and in 2007, I went to Sweden to do my master's. Although I have been a decent student all through my academic life, for some personal reason, I faced some issues while I was there in Sweden. So I dropped out of school and I started doing what I always loved doing, and that's coding. While I was freelancing in my dorm in 2007, I got a work from a Swedish company, and that was a decent amount of job. I mean, so they asked me to build a CRM for their company, and I thought about it, and I realized that I can actually go back to Bangladesh. I can use the cost difference of the two countries. I can hire more people, get the job done in a really quicker time, and everyone wins, everyone's happy. So I told this to my client. They were really interested to explore. I got back to my country. I hired a few coders. We built the software in half the time, and that's how my company was born.
I love it. I love hearing the origin story behind hearing a problem or gap that you identified that you could potentially solve for with your own background and your own geographic region playing into that factor to do this for faster, efficient, and cheaper than it would if you were, doing this all yourself. And then it sounds like that's the origin of how you started the organization. And are the
Correct.
that you partnered with, are they still there with you? Like, you've been doing this for 15 years, right? I'm sure the company's evolved a lot, right? But it's always fun to hear, yeah, those people that did those first projects with me are still here.
They were with us for like 4 to 5 years. Then we parted ways, so that the company got sold to another company.
Yeah.
But they were with us for a long time.
That's cool. I love it. Well, that's a great story. Like hearing you, in 11th grade, selling your products to a company, and really, really cool. I'm
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, that's especially back in the early mid 2000s, right? I'm sure kids are doing that still now, and but computer science is now probably a little bit more. It's definitely like more intertwined in our school system and in our lives these days, probably than it was back in the early mid 2000s. So hearing like how you were able to make that happen at such a young age and kind of find your career path that early is definitely inspiring. And it's
Yeah, I was
how far
I,
you've
I,
come.
yeah, I was just 25 when I founded my company. I can tell you live in front of all this audience, but I was really naive back then, you know. I was just a coder. I could code only. I could write software. But founding a company, managing it, growing it, sustaining it for all these years, it was quite an adventure.
Mm-hmm. Thinking about the company itself, like what problems specifically, are you solving? Like if you can give me kind of the elevator pitch for Ask the IT, I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, so we do two things only. One is technology consulting, excuse me, and then another one is staff augmentation. So we all know the fact that there's a tremendous amount of talent shortage everywhere in the West and over here as well. And the work is there. Everyone wants something. They want to build a software or a product. There are startups coming up and evolving, but there isn't much engineers, testers, project managers. And also there is this cost involved. They're very expensive. All these resources are very expensive there. Now, we want to solve that by creating a pool of really efficient, cost-effective engineers who can speak English well. Now, this is a crowded space, we all know. There are thousands, if not more, companies who provide the same or similar services. But we have a funnel over here that creates engineers who are really world-class. So all our engineers, they work with global clients. We have clients in every continent, you name it. Like we have in North America, majority of our clients are in North America, by the way. We have clients in South America, Africa, Europe, Asia, of course, and Australia. And our resources, our engineers work with these clients directly. So we help companies extend their engineering teams with our resources. So, yeah.
You mentioned globally, and especially right in the U.S. is kind of the geographic focus, but it sounds like there's a global focus to your workforce working with specific customers and clients. Like, what would you say that are the top verticals or industries that you guys work really well within? Is it going to be like software tech companies? Is it manufacturing, right? Or is it agnostic? You tell me like what industries you guys work best within.
It's mostly agnostic, but if you check out our statistics, our history, I would say we have worked with two types of companies the most. One is the software companies who require software engineers, So that's the first type, and the other type would be startups. However, this second category is relatively new. I mean, before 2010, there weren't much startups out there. But after 2010, there is a boom. And all these companies, all these product companies, they need resources. And post-COVID, the situation is changed drastically. I mean, I would say dramatically, not drastically. So no one cares where the resources are. They just want good resources. It's all flat. The world is flat now.
Yeah. Gotcha. So when it comes to like startup companies, are we still talking like software startups? Are we talking like biotech startups, pharma?
Well,
yeah.
Yes. Any company, any startup that requires software solution, so it can be anyone looking for a CRM, ERP, or a custom solution, AI solution. In fact, we have been working on an AI product recently for a game startup, So they are creating product that would coach game players to play games better. So we are creating an AI product that will do just that. So we are industry agnostic, but we work well with software companies and tech startups the most.
Gotcha. That's really helpful, and I appreciate you clarifying that. I got asked though, like, you're working on this AI product to make gamers play better, right?
Correct. Correct.
Why focus there? Like, what is that? Just something fun? Like, is that like, do you guys see a need there? I'm just kind of curious. Like, that sounds awesome, by the way. Like, I just want to kind of explore that a little bit further with you.
Well, so let me tell you how we generate business. So that will answer your question to some extent. So we have a business team which is kind of distributed. We have a business team in the US. We have a business team in Sweden, in Bangladesh as well. And together they generate leads, qualify leads. They do all kinds of outreaches, LinkedIn outreaches, cold calls, emails. And then we try to close those deals. So whatever comes to us, if we feel that we can build that solution satisfactorily for our client, we just do that. We often do not take projects that we believe we cannot deliver well. For example, we do not do games much. We have worked on mobile games, mobile applications or games. We have worked on web-based games, but not console games, because that's not our expertise. We don't have history of doing that. So we don't venture into things that we are not good at. But as for like process automations and digital transformations and cloud solutions, we are very good at those.
Very cool. Okay, that makes sense into why like you guys would focus there, because there's a specific need and sounds like there's expertise there, and that almost sounds a little bit like kind of your secret sauce, right? And maybe why a customer would choose you over the competition is because your team focuses on your software engineers focus on the specific types of products where they know you guys have done work before, and you guys have been successful there, and they feel comfortable there. Would you agree, or what would you think is your secret sauce and why customers would go with you?
Well, first of all, we have this long history of working with some big names. We have worked with some really big brands. We have worked with Coca-Cola. We have worked with, in fact, we have worked with US government. We have worked with Department of Defense. So we have all these big names under our portfolio. We have worked on many different verticals of projects. E-commerce, we excel in building e-commerce solutions, very large scale, massively scalable e-commerce solutions, So all these portfolio items backed by very accessible and well-trained engineers would be our secret sauce. I told you just before that it's a crowded space. Like, we have companies from all over the world. And nowadays we have observed that our clients want to work directly with the engineers. Previously, they were happy with having a interface between the tech team and the business team, like a project manager of sort. But now they want to onboard the engineers directly into their workforce. So we ensure that our engineers are absolutely world-class.
Makes sense. Yeah, it's funny to see how that shift has come about. And so in order to be able to provide that service and to your clients, there is some personality behind it as well, and almost as like an adoption of this person directly within their workforce. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Very true.
So what would you say are like the biggest challenges then that you guys are facing right now, like today, like as a business? Is it growth? Is it, finding new projects, right? What are the kind of things that are top of mind for you as, where we are here in May of 2023?
Okay, so challenges up there. You asked the right question. So many kinds of challenges. There's this growth problem. We're already 500 people. We want to double by the end of 2024. So that gives us only 1.5 years. And we want to be sustainable. So we have to generate enough business to have that growth, accomplish that growth, and to sustain healthily, financially. And on top of that, we're having this competition from all these vendors all over the world, right? We have, there are like literally hundreds of thousands of companies in India that we are competing with. We have hundreds of thousands of companies in China. These are like giants. We are competing with them. And of course, there are other companies in other parts of the world. There are nearshore providers. So the competition is steep. It's tough, it's challenging, but the work amount is staggering. The demand is higher than supply. And that is keeping us alive, and that is helping us to thrive. So there is tremendous amount of demand in tech work in all areas, not just coding and software development. For example, graphics design, we do that. Testing services, we actually do that. Copywriting, we do that. So we are a pretty big team. We have many different departments. Mm-hmm. So growth is a challenge, finding new customers, good customers, not short-term ones. Right. We usually opt to work with long-term clients, mm-hmm. with retainer model. So that's a challenge. And again, of course, on the supply side, creating efficient engineers, quality engineers is another challenge. And on top of that, now we have this AI revolution. And it's a fact. It's a great debate that we're having everywhere, whether AI is going to eat the world, whether it's going to take over coding industry. So there's a shift, there's a paradigm shift going on. We are trying to adapt with the changes. That's another problem. Mm-hmm. Whoever will be able to adapt will stay.
Yeah. Well, I like hearing, the way that, you're talking about the business in two specific aspects from a growth perspective, right? It's continuing to identify the right types of opportunities, long-term opportunities that you guys can continue to grow the organization and see that ARR coming in versus those short-term projects, right? So that's been correct. The long-term tail and customer lifetime value and ensuring that you're increasing that for each customer you guys have partnered up with. So it makes sense why you'd want to focus on the long term, but also, the focus is also internally, right? In your own teams and your own engineers and your own efficiencies to ensure like you guys are providing that high quality service and also making sure like your customers are satisfied, right? And creating stickiness within, the work that you guys are doing within those organizations to continue to grow. And then we have to think about the outside factors that we just don't have any control over too, that, are all kind of top of mind for us, even us in the marketing world. Obviously AI can do a lot in the marketing world too. So we're thinking a lot about that ourselves internally to determine, what's the best way for us to adopt this? Because either way, we're going to have to. I think that's just a given. I think that's going to be a given across a lot of different industries. So a lot going on. A really interesting time, it seems like, at your organization and just in our world in general. So how are you guys, like from the sales perspective, how are you guys identifying those right types of opportunities? Like, how are you helping to like educate and make your business stand out? And I know that's kind of a long-winded question, and maybe might be too much for us to dive into. But how are you guys like educating the space on what you're doing, and how are you guys identifying those opportunities?
So it's part of our business development process, or to be specific, our marketing process. We have a marketing team that deals with promoting our brand, establishing our brand, in different geographies, in different markets where we are not much known. And they explore all the arenas out there. So we are very strong at social media marketing. We post regularly on LinkedIn. We leverage all the social media platforms out there. We try to generate organic traffic to our website so that we have, some business opportunities from there. There is a copywriting team as well. They try to push content which are helpful,
Yep.
So that's one way of doing it. Brand development and copywriting and social media marketing. Plus, we have some outbound sales activities as well. So personally speaking, I do a lot of speaking on conferences or in events. So I'm invited on many events. I actually spoke on TEDx event as well. I talk about technology, I talk about business and everything between. That generates buzz, that's generate enough like opportunities for us, for my company, that helps. Yeah, yeah.
I love
It's a combined effort, like if people know me, they will know my company, and also the other way around.
Yeah. Well, it's good to hear kind of the approach you're taking, because it is definitely a best in class kind of go to market approach. Is you have to have the outbound motions. You just have to. You have to be able to have the teams, business development, be able to spread a wide net to your ideal customers all across the world. Especially if you guys are potentially expanding into new markets, getting directly into the inboxes in front of those individuals is absolutely one way to identify new opportunities within those markets and capture some of that. And then obviously from the inbound and MQL perspective and continuing to grow your social presence, because at the end of the day, we all are on our phones, right? We all are seeing content that's branded to us. I mean, me being like in B2B marketing, I get ads now from like things that it's crazy. Like I can't even believe like I'm getting targeted like this type of direct ad like to a specific product or even a specific like sales process that's out there, versus just like Nike, which I obviously love getting ads for because I can see all the new stuff that's out there, but I'm getting like really targeted ads from other businesses. And so you have to be able to have that as a presence on social media. And obviously from the website, you need to be able to generate organic traffic on the website so people know who you are. So, to just kind of recap everything that you shared, like those are all definitely best in class, pipeline opportunities. I would say one other pipeline that we didn't mention that I'm sure you have is almost like a partner or channel strategic partner relationships that
Absolutely.
on.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, we do have channel partners and in different parts of the world actually. So we have partners that explores telcos only, telecommunication companies. We have partners that explores MNCs, and we have partners that explore government project opportunities. So we have these channel partners in different parts of the world, and they have been very helpful and instrumental in our growth.
Yeah, it's a must-have for any companies to have that additional source of those trusted vendors that can tell that, hey, this is the best-in-class story. This is why we partnered up with them, and this is why you guys should be having conversations with them. And here I'm going to make the introduction, right? And having those potential conversations is going to be key. So Riz, like kind of what I'm hearing, from you and where you guys are, right? There's the opportunity here for a lot of growth, right? There's a lot of new projects and companies popping up every single day that you guys would be a great fit for. There's 500 people at the organization right now. By the way, that's incredible. Like kudos to you for
Thank you.
From one project that you did in Sweden to where you are here today.
Thank you.
Swedish company, right? To where you are here today. It's like that's awesome, and you want to double that, get to 1,000. Employees by the end of next year. So definitely lofty goals, but you also, so that's one, right? Expanding and growing your footprint. And the only way to do that is by growing sales and expanding into new markets. So that's
absolutely
planning to grow and scale, sounds like.
Very right. Yeah. It's an ambitious path. It's an ambitious goal, but we believe it's achievable nonetheless. So we just want to do everything we can, we want to apply all the tricks in our arsenal to get there.
Yeah. So would sales potentially be the main driver of this expansion, or would it be, your customer success or project management teams identifying new opportunities within existing accounts that you guys are currently working with? Is that the focus of the growth? I'm just kind of curious to see.
Sales, obviously, because with the existing customers we have, we cannot double, we do have customers on retainer. They're like recurring clients, or we service them on a monthly basis, but that will help us remain where we are. But we need more sales to grow. So yeah, I would say that sales is the primary driving factor that will get us there.
Yeah, makes sense. I, from the outside looking in, it's always kind of hard to tell, right? Like, what is the main driver for revenue? And, for companies like us, it is, finding opportunities potentially even within our accounts to expand and extend our service offerings with them. And so, for you guys, very lofty goals, right? To be able to get to, 1,000 people. How big, I guess, are your typical projects? How many engineers, are you guys putting on projects? Is it 1? Is it 20? Is it 50? What does that typical project size look like on average?
Yeah, we have done everything. So we have small projects with 1 developer. We have done projects with 25 developers or even more. I mean, if you consider the support stuff, so there are phases of a project, right? When we build, we don't need a really big team. Maybe 15 to 20 people is good enough.
Gotcha.
But when it's live, you need a lot of people to maintain it, to keep it live, 24/7 support people, 24/7 tech people. So eventually the team size behind any project gets big if it's a worthy project. I mean, long-term good project.
So in order to get to that goal of 500 additional people at the organization, if I'm just doing the quick back of the napkin math, 500 more people divided by potentially 25, I put 20 people per project. That's about 25 new projects.
Correct.
So you guys will have to work on at that size. So probably looking about like a project a month is kind of what the team needs to be doing on the sales front.
Well, that's a very good math, Max. I mean, yeah, that's totally right. And again, I would say it's achievable. It's just a sales effort that we need to implement. If we have a bigger sales team, we'll have just more projects. It's simple.
And you guys are you actively bringing people on right now, or are you working with the current team that you have? Like, how are you growing sales?
Cool. So that's one of our goals for this year. We are actually growing our sales team. So let's say if we now have N people, we want to gradually in, let's say 6 months, we want to have 3 N people. So 3 times the current team. And not all of them will be here in a centralized area. We want to have a distributed sales team, maybe a sales team in Australia. We are actually working on a sales team in the US as well. We do have a sales team, but we want to grow that team as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's the only way we can achieve our goal.
Yep.
A bigger sales team.
Cool. Well, hopefully, you find the right teams across geos as you guys are expanding into new markets to be able to get the opportunities that you guys need to grow. I do think from what I'm hearing, it's achievable. And as you guys are actively growing sales and getting more people ramped, right? Ideally, that's obviously more opportunities that they can have to potentially close deals. Would you say like your average sales cycles, like 90 days, 6 months? Like what's the typical sales cycle right now?
It depends on the project size. Smaller projects are really quick. We can close in a week. Bigger projects, high ticket projects that take 3 to 4 months. I mean, it has never taken more than 5 months. If it takes more than 5 months, then it's either dead or it's too big to handle,
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. Well, this has been really interesting. I really appreciate you kind of diving into how you guys are growing and scaling and sharing your story with us. And from what I'm hearing is like you guys have a plan in mind, a business that is needed as well, right? And there's lots of opportunities out there globally for you. So casting that wider net and expanding to markets does make a lot of sense to capture more of the market and continue to grow and scale. So I'm excited to see what you guys have, going on over the next upcoming year. And as we wrap things up, is there anything else you'd like to share that, you think our listeners need to know about you or the company that we haven't covered thus far?
Well, we have covered almost everything. I just want to say that we are a tech company. We are very passionate about what we do, and our management, including myself, we try to inject that passion to everyone who works in our company. We take great pride in everything we have achieved so far, and we will be achieving in the future. Yeah, so anything tech, just call us.
Sure. I love it. I love the story, from very humble beginnings. And you're still very humble about where you are today. And it's it's not, it's an achievement to what you guys have done thus far for sure. And becoming a player in the space and winning those major contracts like you guys have too. And there's many more to come. So how can people find you? I know you said you did a TEDx speech. Honestly, like I would love to share that link in the bio so people can check out your speech there too. So you tell me, like, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. Just type in my name. It's Hasnaeen, HASNAEENRIZVIRAHMAN. Or you can go to my company website. It's www.asthait.com.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll make sure to include a link to Riz's profile.
Thank you.
In the description, to the company website, and then share that TEDx link with me, and I'll make sure to include that as well.
Will do.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how you guys grow, and I appreciate the conversation, Riz, and it was really nice getting to have this conversation with you. I feel like I've learned a lot about you and the company and how you guys are growing and scaling, and so I appreciate you being here for the Business Ninjas podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for inviting me. It was a pleasure talking to you. I mean, I love exchanging knowledge, experience, wisdom. So it has been a learning experience for me as well. So I loved being here. Thank you.
It was great having you, Riz. And appreciate your time. And everyone, thanks for listening. And that wraps up another episode of the Business Ninjas podcast. Everyone have a great rest of the day.